So I want to create the Pepsi logo. I'm gonna open Photoshop. I need a circle. The top part is red, the bottom is blue, and the central line here is white. And then I add the highlights. So first I'll create a new document. And I'll create a circle. I'm gonna use the ellipse tool. I can choose view, show grid, and make sure that view snap to grid is on. Why do I need the grid? So that I can center things easily. Now I want to create a curve that goes up and then goes down. The pen tool, whatever you create is going to be created on a new layer. So let's change the color for this one. Alright, and with the pen tool now, we're going to delete that. We're going to change this back to something else like gray so that we can distinguish between the two. I'm going to do it outside first just to show you what I'm doing, and then I'll move it in. If I click, I create a corner point. If I click and drag, I create a curved point. So remember, I need to create a sine wave like this. So here I moved by 2, and then I will move by 2 and click here, and then click and drag there for another curve. Alright, so that's 2, and I need another 2, so that's here. Alright, so that's what I have. But it's not really the kind of fill that I'm after. If I right click, I have an option to stroke the path, but it's not available for me now. The reason that it's not available is because I have it on this layer, and this layer is a shape, so I cannot really stroke the path with this. If I move on to another layer, I cannot select it. So the solution is to delete this. If I go back to my pen tool, I have up here other options. Let's create something fast. If I selected the path now, say with the path selection tool, on this layer, I can now stroke the path, for example with the brush, and there it is. Of course the color is bright, but that's an option for me. So the solution is not to create a shape layer, but to create a path that I can stroke. So I click here on a new layer. That's the center. So I'll click, I'll go like this, I'll click here, I'll go down by 2, and then I'll click there. So now I need to stroke this. Of course, I can edit this by going to the direct selection tool, selecting this point and moving it down to give it a gentler form that resembles better the original form. So anyway, I'm gonna go to the brush now. Alright, and here I'm gonna select a big brush size. Alright, so I can increase the brush size from here to see the thickness of that line. So let's say 100 for the brush size. So I have my brush set to 100. I'll select this, and I am on the right layer. If I right click, stroke path, I will choose brush, and I'll press OK, and there it is. Now it's not perfect, because if I go to my brush, which is here, and I go to brushes, so window and brushes, I can specify, if I go to the brush tip, whether I have spacing or not, and whether the strokes are close to each other. So here I made them really close. You can make them further away or close. So if I undo this, and with my brush still set to a low spacing value, it's selected, right click, stroke path, brush, and now I have a perfect stroke. Let's add a dark background so that we see what we actually have. Alright, I don't want to see the grid anymore. The shortcut to show and hide the grid is Control and comma. Actually, it's Control and apostrophe. Now, I don't need this path anymore, so I can delete it. If I deselected it, I can go to path and deselect the path. It will still be there in case I want to use it later. Alright, now I want to delete the outer part. So I'm gonna press Control and click on the shape to have a selection. And I'll go to this layer, which I will call, let's say, white band. If I press delete, I delete what's inside. I need to inverse my selection, Control Shift I, and delete. And now I have this. So how do I select the top red part and separate it from the bottom blue part? All I have to do is take this shape, right click, and choose rasterize layer, because I want to be able to select parts without the other one. So I need to convert it to a regular layer. Now with my lasso tool, I can make a rough selection like this. Control X and Control V, and paste it in place. Now I can hide this so that I have a perfect fit from here. And then I show it back. So the top part, the bottom part is going to be called blue. Control U, change the hue to get blue. And that's the red shape. Let's put the red above the blue, but keep the white above all. Now I want to create the highlights. If I actually press Control click on the white, I can go to the red and press delete, and then I go to the blue and press delete. That way I restrict the shape like this and show back the white. That's better than leaving it like it was before. Now I'm gonna go to the red, Control click. I have a selection now. I'll go to a selection tool and choose Refine Edge, and here I can actually contract the selection. Let's click on default and contract the selection to make it smaller, and feather. Alright, and smooth it out, and play with the different settings to get a smaller selection, something like this. So now I have a selection here. What I'm doing is creating this part here. Actually, I made the selection much smaller. Yeah, we don't have it. The IT department has it. Alright, I'll repeat this part here. I have a selection. I'll click on Refine Edge, and I'll contract it a little bit. Let's go to default. I'll contract it a little bit and feather it out to make it soft. Alright, so that's the selection now. It needs to be contracted further, which means made smaller. Alright, So see what's gonna happen now. If I have a new layer and I go to my brush, which is here, I'll select white and I paint. Alright, you see that this part is soft, the part at the right side part, and that's because of the selection. Alright, so before I work on the selection, I need to remove that part and that part from here. So it's like a big oval that needs to be removed, and then I'll work on the selection. So lasso tool, and I'll remove that part like this and that part from here. So I'll be a bit more careful in my final result, but otherwise that's what I have. I added this part again. Alright, and then I'll choose refine edge and smooth it out like this, feather it, and something like this. I'll press OK. Okay, I messed it up from here, so I should go back. Let me zoom in and fix the selection here. So I need to add this part and remove this. Alright, so now I'll go to refine edge. Let's say that it's good. It needs some more work, but you get the idea. I'll press OK. Now Control C and Control V. So Control U now and increase the lightness, and that would create the highlight. So I don't like it that much because it needs to be contracted more. So I make it smaller and feather it out, something like this. So now Control C, Control V, Control U, and increase the lightness. And here I can play with the fill value. And I'll do the same for the bottom part. Another thing I can do for the red and the blue is go to effects and bevel and emboss, and soften the edges a little bit and increase the size, reduce the depth to give it this appearance. I will right click and choose copy layer style, go to the blue, right click and paste layer style to give the blue the same appearance from down here. And the rest of the stuff is easy.